Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Please confirm if I'm being heard. Can anyone hear me?
We hear you. Good
Okay,
afternoon.
great. Good
Can
afternoon.
hear you.
Thank you
Good
so
afternoon.
much. Thank you, Zeno. Thank you so much for joining us at this webinar. We're commemorating the International Women's Month. My name is Nora Igwe. I'm a program manager at EFINA. It would be great if we could introduce ourselves at using the chat box. Just put your name, your organization, your designation or your role, and of course your location. So we'll just get to know who and who's in the role. Yeah, thank you. Okay, someone's hand is up. Which is that for me? Okay, I'll move. I think maybe that's a mistake. All right then. Athena being market facilitator and an enabler, right? Considering our role as a market facilitator and enabler, we have, put together this event today to basically discuss how productive credit for women businesses can be leveraged to improve women's resilience and, of course, women's economic empowerment. Looking at what the A2F 2020 and 2023 figures showed us, of course, there was an increase in the gender gap, right? And it's evident that we need to put our hands to the plow to ensure that we reduce this gender gap, increase women's financial inclusion, and empower women to do better. It's glad that we have seasoned experts on ground to do justice to this topic. Zeno, please confirm we have all panelists on ground.
We are almost here, but we have
Almost.
two
Okay,
of our
great.
panelists.
Okay, great. On the agenda today, soon after this remark, we'll be, moving into the webinar proper. And of course, that session will be moderated by my colleague, Gimizino Afebe, who's the lead Gender Center of Excellence at EFINA. After which we've allocated some time to questions, Q&A. Again, please utilize the chat box, drop in your thoughts, drop in your questions, drop in any concerns, and we'll get to that during the Q&A session. After the Q&A session, the CEO of EFINA will come up to give her goodwill message, and then we wrap up the event. So please be informed. We are recording this event. We would like this event to be interactive and engaging. Please make use of your chat box, drop in your comments, like I said earlier. Thank you so much for joining us for this meeting. Zeno, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Nora. And we are really very excited here at EFINA to welcome you all to this very important conversation that has to do with ensuring that women micro-entrepreneurs have access to credit. And just like my colleague has mentioned, this is in commemoration of the International Women's Day. And the slogan, the campaign call to action is accelerate action. So we're moving from rhetoric, just talking, to actually implementing. But for us to be able to do that, we need to have experts within the room who would share with us their experiences in actually implementing solutions, deploying solutions that women micro-entrepreneurs have access to, but many do not even know that some of these solutions are available. And then for the institutions that provide credit to women micro-entrepreneurs, they can learn from the pace-setting example of the institutions that we have here in our midst. So I would like to, first of all, share with us a background. After we go through this background of some numbers we need to pay attention to, then we'll get to meet our esteemed panelists. So when it comes to the different areas where women's economic empowerment and financial inclusion can be promoted, we need to look at four dimensions. And there are four dimensions which were identified by the World Economic Forum as areas that if we're able to attend to them and close the gender gap in these four areas, we'll be able to achieve increase in productivity, increase in GDP, increase in prosperity for the women and their families. And according to this report from 2024, they had noted that it would take 134 years to reach gender parity if we do nothing. But in these four areas, namely the health and survival area, secondly, education attainment area, thirdly, economic participation and opportunities, and the fourth area is political empowerment. Now, out of these four areas, we are focusing on the economic participation and the opportunity gap that needs to be closed, because so far there is a large gulf that needs to be breached. What are the practical things we can do in order to accelerate action and make women entrepreneurs have access to financial services? Now, apart from what the World Economic Forum had noted last year, in our own report, because we have a biennial report as EFINA, which we execute in conjunction with the National Bureau of Statistics, the last report of 2023 revealed that totally we had 74% achievement of financial inclusion, which was an improvement of 68% from 68% of 2020. However, even though collective financial inclusion had improved, what we noted in our survey was that the gender gap between men's access to formal financial services and women's access to formal financial services had grown. So that had increased by 1 percentage point from 8% in 2020 to 9% in 2023. Now, looking at the different services that women can have access to be more financially included, we were able to identify a very critical one that affects women micro-entrepreneurs. Now, first of all, what are the services? We are talking about savings, insurance, credit, pensions, remittances, payments, and then there is investments as well. But when you look at all of these financial solutions, the one that can have a significant impact, a multiplier effect, not just on the businesses of the women micro-entrepreneurs, but also their families and communities at large, is access to credit. Last year in October, the central bank governor, he signed up on the WIFI code, that's the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code. That was in October. Something significant was said during that event, and that is that the need for capital for women entrepreneurs stood at $294 billion as of October 2024. So that's a significant amount. The question is, what are the barriers preventing women from having access to this sorely needed capital? And then again, what are the barriers from the supply side that are preventing financial institutions from serving women micro-entrepreneurs? So in the spirit of Accelerate Action, we have an excellent panel today that are going to look into these issues and provide insights that will be beneficial for supply side actors, financial service providers, and also those of us who are women entrepreneurs joining this webinar. We're going to hear about some practical things that you can do in order to access what is out there, know what is out there, access what is out there, and let it impact positively on your businesses and your families. So let me go ahead now and introduce my esteemed panelists that are here with us for this webinar. I would want to first of all start with Mrs. Olanike Kolawole. Now, Mrs. Olanike Kolawole, she is the Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer at the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, abbreviated to Credicor. She has a vast experience of over 30 years in diverse industries, from banking to pharmaceuticals to also the FMCG sector. She's someone who excels in development finance. She's a financial inclusion expert. She's a sales coach. She's a trainer. She's a growth strategist as well. And prior to now, she held leadership positions in EcoBank, as well as multiple financial institutions and other private sector entities. So we look forward to benefiting from our insights. You're welcome, Mrs. Kolawole. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great. So we also have other panelists that I'm delighted to introduce us to. We also have Mr. Bonaventure Okaimo. Mr. Okaimo is currently the Chief Operating Officer of an important institution, which is Development Bank of Nigeria. He's also a non-executive director at Impact Credit Guarantee Limited. His experience, almost 30 years and counting, spans across multiple financial institutions, from Diamond Bank to Stanbic to Standard Chartered to FCMB to Unity Bank. And he also serves as a non-executive director with Unity Capital Assurance, which is currently Veritas Assurance. He's had the opportunity of practicing his service delivery across different countries, from Zimbabwe to Kenya to Johannesburg in South Africa. And we look forward to benefiting from his insights when it comes to what is available for women micro entrepreneurs and for institutions that want to serve them. Mr. Okaimo, we are delighted to have you on this panel.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you, Zeno.
Thank you very much. I would also like to introduce us to the third panelist. And this is a very interesting financial inclusion expert that joins us. Her name is Nkem Okocha. Now, Nkem Okocha, she is the founder of Mama Money Foundation, Shisabi, and Happy. She's an individual who literally rolls up her trousers and goes into the hinterland, into those locations where low-income women, bottom of the pyramid, women reside and operate and trade. And she has that passion that drives her with a slogan that no woman should be left behind. Nkem is a 2015 Tony Elumelu Foundation alumna, 2016 Outstanding Leap Africa Social Innovator, 2017 Most Impactful Tony Elumelu Entrepreneur. She's also the Young African Leadership Initiative Yali alumna of 2015, GSBI Accelerator alumna, and a 2017 Mandela Washington Fellow. And the list goes on. But the beauty of hearing from Nkem today is to learn about what he has done to unlock value within that bottom of the pyramid segment. So we look forward to benefiting from those insights. Nkem Okocha, you are welcome to today's webinar. All right, and let me introduce the final panelist. They'll be joining us shortly. So, of course, once they are with us, we'll be able to benefit from their responses to some critical questions we will ask with regard to how we can accelerate action and enable women to leverage productive credit. So the last person I'll introduce is Uche Uzoebo, Mrs. Uche Uzoebo, who is the MD CEO of SANEF. Now, whenever you have any conversation with any institution about POS agents, wherever they're in the country, in all the 774 local governments, you can't but talk about SANEF, because SANEF has been the driving force for that. And at the helm of SANEF, we have Mrs. Uzoebo. She is a business leader with over 2.5 decades of experience in banking services, and within that period of time, 15 years in leadership roles. She has specialized in digital payments, has focused on financial inclusion, gender advocacy, agency banking, project management, and product and business development management. Also merchant acquiring, corporate, commercial, and retail banking. She brings all of that experience into trying to see how formal financial services would be readily available to those who need it most those who are disadvantaged, where the equality is required. He's able to share insights that will enable us to collectively, collaboratively accelerate action. So we welcome Mrs. Uzoebo to the panel as well. Great. So thank you all for being here with us. We, of course, would want to kick off our interaction and our discussion by first of all launching a poll. So in as much as knowledge is being transferred to those of us who have joined today, we are going to want to hear from you, your own perceptions on two critical questions. So the first poll is going to be launched shortly in a few moments. Once it pops up on your screen, please select from the options so you can get your own view with regard to the barriers that are affecting women's access to productive credit. So let's have the poll displayed. It will come on shortly. It should be on your screen. And here's the question. The question is, what is the top barrier preventing women micro-entrepreneurs from accessing productive credit? You can only make one choice. And the 5 options here are lack of awareness, collateral requirements, lack of trust in financial service providers, few FFPs offering suitable credit solutions, and the 5th option to select from is unfavorable costs and terms. So we'll give you about a minute to make your selection, and then the results will be displayed, which will form a basis for our discussion as we progress. Right. We look forward to your making your selection. And let us see what the general perception is amongst most of the citizenry. Okay, we have about 20 seconds to go. Okay, can we see the results now? Do we have 100% participation? Okay, the results are coming. Very interesting. So what we have here is 31% of those of us on the call believe that there are few financial service providers offering suitable credit solutions. So it's not that they don't have credit solutions, loan products, but they are not suitable. Followed by that, the next barrier we identified is collateral requirements prevent women from being able to access productive credit. Women micro-entrepreneurs have that challenge. Then, of course, followed closely by unfavorable costs. The rates are high, and other terms as well. And then finally, lack of awareness. Very interesting. So few financial service providers are offering suitable credit solutions. That is a very good transition to our first question for our panelists, which is basically to understand what kind of solutions are currently being offered by the organizations represented on the panel towards making it possible for women micro-entrepreneurs to accelerate attention. Thank you. We can now remove the poll results. So once again, let me ask the question, and then we'd love to hear first of all from Mrs. Kolawole of Credit Corps, because Credit Corps is an exciting institution. We've heard a lot about it since it started. The federal government put the organization in place. So we'd love to hear from you, your response to this question. Once again, the question is, provide an overview of Credit Corps and share how your organization is positioned to accelerate action towards availing women entrepreneurs with access to productive credit. We'd love to hear from you, Mrs. Kolawole.
Thank you very much, Zeno. Thank you, Alfina, for having me here. Let me just quickly talk about Credit Corp, what we do and why we were created. Credit Corp was created last year by the present government, and the essence of creation of Credit Corp is to accelerate consumer credit. Why do we need to accelerate consumer credit? Right now, access to consumer credit is just about 3% through the formal sector. If you add even the informal sector, it's about 5.35%. Meanwhile, consumer credit is the driver of the economy, is the GDP multiplier. All over the world, developed worlds, consumer credit is about 50% of what the GDP should be. I think we're on about 34 trillion. And if we're going to do a calculation to 50% of GDP, 172 trillion, the gap is huge. Inflation is high right now, really tough. It will be best for people to be able to access credit to do whatever they need to do quickly. I mean, if you give an example, maybe a woman wants to buy a freezer for 250,000, maybe early last year, and she's saving towards it. She uses that freezer in the market to sell fish. By the time it's was middle of last year, that cost has gone to like 350 or 400, and she's still saving. Meanwhile, if she has access to credit, what will be paid on it is so small compared to the rate at which inflation has gone. So consumer credit as a GDP multiplier must be accessible to all if we're going to grow the GDP. So we have three mandates. Number one mandate is, well, as a DFI, provide funds available to financial institutions for on-one lending at a lower rate, which we have done. We have a pilot stage of about 6 months of operation of what we have done, and it's been quite exciting. And number two of that is the credit guarantee scheme. So, because government alone cannot put all the money down, if the financial institutions actually put all that they have into consumer loan, it will be easier to grow faster. So the guarantee scheme will do like 20 times what even offering funds to financial institutions would do. What does that entail? They give out the funds and we sit down and we share the risk. This is the portfolio, this is how bad this target market is. So for this target market and for this sector, this is what we need to do to make it to work. And based on that, we share the risk. Is it 60-40? Is it 50-50? Is it 70-30? Based on what we agree on. So the president's speech on January 1st, there's going to be a creation of another guarantee company to take care of this. We are part of this with BOI and two other parties for the creation of the guarantee. But the core thing, the ultimate goal of our creation is for every Nigerian to have a credit score. So we are going for legislation on that before we kickstart on that. Every Nigerian will have a score, and a lot of data gathering, formal, informal, financial, non-financial, put an algorithm together, and then we all have a score. It will be easier. The financial institution will be more relaxed. Now everybody has different way of scoring, which is not even growing the figures right now. The fintechs have done a good job of the fintech loans they've been offering, but what amount is available? Average on that is about 22,300. What will that really do? It's helpful. I'm not saying it's bad, but it won't grow what we want to do of the consumer business. And lastly, we're to create awareness. We're starting on that now, creating awareness that why credit is not bad, and why all you have to do is just to manage your cash flow to be able to pay on time, and you continue to have access to credit. Within our pilot stage, we've given out about 13 billion, and I would say 30% of them are women. But the good thing is that 52% are first-time borrowers. 52% are first-time borrowers, which is excellent. Also, some of the things we are doing, we're partnering with the Solar Energy Institution, with Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, and we are attending to about 2,500 women. We launched our mobility in December, And we have one of our partner in fintech too, to offer tricycle trained women on how to ride. We call them pink riders, how to ride motorcycle and actually do even the jobs that is typically for women. We have another partner we are partnering with on having digital devices available for women. And once they're able to pay 75% of the cost of a digital device, they have loan available also for their business. Simply because everything is going digital, everything is on mobile. So even have access to a phone, which you can use to do some of your business. And then with that, we give you extra money to actually run your business. We're working with a lot of cooperative society. Next week, we're having a big one with one of them in Lagos, where we're going to be providing women with grinding machine, solar freezer for those women who are selling fish, gari making machine, and all sorts of assets that they can actually generate wealth from. Not just asset for having asset for the fun of it, but asset generating assets that can actually drive the business. So let me stop here and we'll continue. Thank you. So that's just a brief on us,
Yes.
a brief on what we're doing with women. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kolawole. In fact, you have mentioned a number of things which would really connect well with other expressions we'll hear from the other panelists. Some points you mentioned that every Nigerian would have a credit score. That would be a facilitator for access to credit. You talked about, everything going digital. That's something to bear in mind with regard to easy access to credit. You also mentioned a very impactful expression, which is credit serving as a hedge for inflation. As inflation is on the rise or has been on the rise, once you have credit and then you know how to manage your cash flow, that would be helpful. But let's move on to the other panelists to also hear more about what they currently have on offer. Because remember, the first poll that we displayed showed that the general perception, the general feeling is that institutions don't have products that are suitable for women. We've already started hearing that those products exist. Many programs are moving forward. 13 billion already availed. 30% of the recipients are women. Well, let's see what the Development Bank of Nigeria is doing in that regard. We'd like to hear from Mr. Okaimo, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Zeno. Thank you. And like I said earlier, it's a great pleasure to be here. And we are still in the month of women as we are celebrating International Women's Day. And we are obviously focusing on accelerating action. I want to share with you how the Development Bank of Nigeria has been actively working to bridge the financing gap for women entrepreneurs. DBN is a wholesale development finance institution, and we are committed to alleviating the financing constraints that are faced by MSMEs. But we have a very strong focus on empowering women-owned and women-led businesses. So we have a strategic approach to women financial inclusion. And part of the approach is through some of the following areas. In terms of funding, because if you recall, our mandate is threefold. Funding through participating financial institutions, technical assistance to the PFIs, capacity building to MSMEs, and then partial guarantee. So for funding, our core mission is to ensure that women entrepreneurs, they receive the financial support that they need. We have set a target for ourselves that 80% of our end beneficiaries must be women. Currently, we have disbursed over 187 billion to approximately 526,740 women-owned businesses. This represents a 74% of our total end borrowers list. So we are actively working to close that 6% gap. We also have dedicated funding lines, specially designed to support women. The primary one is a 50 million euro gender line, which is 80% of it is allocated to micro and small enterprises, and then about 20% to medium-sized enterprises. So this line is only for women enterprises. Additionally, we have about 25 million euro green line, and a $50 million livestock productivity and resilience support funding. These two lines, although they are not dedicated solely for women, both of them prioritize women as a preferred segment. So we are actively sourcing for women and borrowers for those lines. In terms of grant funding, we've received some grants from different development partners. We have about $400,000 for underserved communities. We have about $300,000 for water, sanitation, and hygiene. And we are also working on a €2 million grant for gender responsive climate initiatives. All of these grants are targeted primarily at women enterprises and how we can also improve on the capacity of the women borrowers within our country. In terms of guarantees, we have a subsidiary, Impact Credit Guarantee Company Limited. This subsidiary has provided over 13.2 billion in credit guarantees since inception about three and a half years ago. This has facilitated loans to over 8,547 women-owned MSMEs, therefore reducing the risk for participating financial institutions. Again, in terms of capacity building, we understand that access to finance is just one piece of the puzzle. So what we do at DBN, we train MSMEs, and we have trained over 9,500 MSMEs in the last 5 years with a very strong focus on women. This has enabled them to enhance their financial literacy and business management skills, obviously empowering them to build sustainable businesses. In terms of our technical assistance to the participating financial institution, like I said earlier, we have worked very closely with our PFIs. We've trained over 20 PFIs to develop gender-focused financial products and improve gender reporting, ensuring that the entire financial ecosystem is aligned with our goals. In terms of advocacy, we've actively advocated for policies and initiatives that support women entrepreneurs. We host an annual International Women Day event. The last one was done last week. We sponsor partner events. We provide grants to women entrepreneurs. We are also very, very proud to be a key partner in implementing the Women Finance Initiative. That's the WIFI code in Nigeria, alongside the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Bank of Industry. This is aimed at leveraging data to drive meaningful change. For all of this, we've gotten some rewards and recognitions to show our dedication to the women financial inclusion. We've gotten some honorable mentions and award from the IFC, International Finance Corporation SME Finance Forum. We also received an award from the CBN Financial Inclusion Leadership Award. All of this is just to show that DBN is communicated and very, very committed to accelerating action through closing gender financing gap. By providing what I've said, targeted funding, credit guarantees, capacity building, and advocacy, we are empowering women entrepreneurs to thrive and contribute to Nigerian economic growth. We are also dedicated to continued improvement of all our programs, and we are excited to see the continued growth of women-owned MSMEs in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Okaimo, for sharing with us those practical initiatives and interventions that the Development Bank of Nigeria has put in place. I know that the question which would be in the minds of our attendees today, for the financial institutions that are represented on this call, in this event, they will be asking, so how can I tap into these lines that I've heard about from DBN? Then from the side of the individual women entrepreneurs, what we like to do in EFINA is put a face to numbers. It's not just statistics. We are talking about people. We're talking about women entrepreneurs. So when you mentioned that over 8,547 women-owned MSMEs have benefited from one of your lines, when you talked about over 500,000 women businesses benefiting from the over 187 billion, those are real people that own businesses, that have families. So the question is, and we hope as we progress through the webinar, we'll be able to hear what are steps that people can take. Which door should they knock on to have access to benefit from these lines. And also from the financial institutions part, if this is news to them, who can they talk to? Where can they go to? So we're going to come back to that. But let's first of all now transit to Mama Money. Let's go into the hinterland. Let's learn about the solutions that are currently available from Mama Money for the benefit of women entrepreneurs. We'd like to hear from Mr. Okocha.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Nkem Okocha, founder of Mama Money. So Mama Money is a fintech social enterprise that provides digital financial services for women. We work with, especially with underserved women. Currently, we have a network of female agents across Nigeria, where we, through female agents, women across Nigeria can carry out different financial services. So since inception, when we started, what we have done is we've gone to provide access to finance for underserved women, to like your normal market women selling ugu, women selling akara, women selling tomatoes. Those are the kind of women that we work with. And if you know that for this kind of women, getting access to funding is very, 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 very hard for them, because most of them, they don't have all the financial histories that we have. So what we have done is go into, we for us at Mama Money, we really go into the communities where these women are. And one of the things that we do is we listen to them. Before starting, when I started, I think back in 2015, one of the things that we did is that before we carried out and started giving out credit, we did human-centered design interviews for women across different communities in Nigeria to really understand what they want before we started providing micro loans to them. So we go to these women and we do what we call community identification, because sometimes when you ask these women to show you, to give you, let's say ID card, most women now have NIN, but when we started, most of them don't have any form of identification. So we use what we call community identification. So when we say community identification, what we mean is that this is Mama Emeka, somebody, she stays at number 10, let's say Okokomaiko, and she sells at this junction. Almost everybody knows that Mama Emeka has been selling in this junction for over 2 years. They know where our children goes to school. So that's the kind of thing. So we ask around and we are able to give this woman credit. Another thing that we have done for our women is that when we started giving them loans, we saw that some of them, they started telling us that they don't want to collect loan because they've collected loan from another financial partner before, and that the money is juju money. So we told them that there's no juju money. So when we started talking to them, we understood that most of them cannot, they don't keep their books, they don't know how to manage their business. So we started teaching them financial literacy. So we created what we call the Mama Biz Toolkit, where we are teaching them how to record their sales, we are teaching them how to record their expense, we are teaching them how to record their stock in the language that they will understand. So that's what we started doing. And we made sure that for every woman that we gave loans to, one of the things that she must attend our training. So we'll break it down. We use things like, if you go to the market, you see these women putting that thing on their waist. In Yoruba, they call it ikewo. They tie it on their waist. So for those that cannot write, we use things like that to teach them how to separate their business capital from their profit. So that's what we have done. So it's been a whole lot of work, because you are talking and you are explaining. So one of the things that we tell people that we do is like we are doing evangelism, because they will ask questions, they keep asking questions. And so when you are serving this kind of women, you don't get tired, because they keep asking the same set of questions they want to understand. So for the financial literacy, another thing that we are doing for them is we are teaching them, yes, after you have outgrown Mama Money, these are the things that you should do so that you can collect funding from maybe a microfinance bank that is bigger than Mama Money or a commercial bank. So these are the things that we have been doing so far in different communities across Nigeria. So the community identification for us is key. That's what we use as to identify our women, the financial literacy, and speaking the language that the women understand. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is really inspiring, Nkem, and we are so happy about the fact that in your own approach, you go to where the women are. You speak to the language that speaks to their hearts, and that motivates them to develop trust, and they're able to now utilize the services that you offer. It's a very fine pattern, it's a very fine approach that financial institutions can also follow. That is what it means to be customer-centric. We appreciate that. And of course, we look forward to financial institutions adopting same. Now, we had mentioned earlier about the importance of agent locations. The way Mama Money goes into the neighborhoods, goes to where the women are. There is something which we see feature across the country. Mama Money is an agent, but coordinating all the activities of all agents in Nigeria and providing them with the resources, with the policy framework to make sure they're able to perform optimally. We have SANEF. So when it comes to productive credit, which is what we're looking at today, so we're not talking about credit for consumption, credit that will enable you have resources that generate income. So productive credit. With regard to advancing that, we'd love to hear how SANEF views this with your operations, with the agent network. What kind of solutions do you provide that equip women entrepreneurs to be in a position to have access to productive credit? We'd love to hear from SANEF. Okay, we had Mrs. Uzoebo on the call some moments ago, some technical glitches, but we're definitely going to ask her that question. Okay.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Please
Good
go ahead.
afternoon, everyone. Yes.
Afternoon.
So let me just give a brief overview of the Agent Network Expansion Facility. It's an initiative of the Central Bank of Nigeria, supported by deposit money banks, the financial service providers, Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, licensed mobile money operators, and super agents. So in SANEF, we serve as an in financial inclusion ecosystem to expand the frontiers of financial inclusion, enlightenment, policy advocacy, the solution of products and services, to increase agent viability and sustainability. So giving the ability to collaborate with and foreign social enterprise, that offer financial solutions like even EFINA, Women's World Banking, even one of our super agents who is Mama Money, and the founder is also on this call. So this is one way that we collaborate with the industry to be able to promote the access to productive credit. You agree with me that you need the financial access points where these consumers could go to access the credit, and that is why we have agents. And taking it to women, when the Women Inclusion Framework was launched, we also took the charge to also contribute and also push for the adoption of female agents. Today, we have over 2 million agents in the country, and out of that, our percentage of female agents is about 20%, and we have a target to take it at least a minimum of 45% by the end of this year. So in doing that, because if we have more female agents out there, then we will also be able to, they will also be able to access the credit, given some of the barriers that we see today, especially in the northern Nigeria. You have the cultural and social norms, the traditional gender rules, economic barrier. You see a woman, from the north, she wouldn't want to leave her home. She wouldn't want to leave her children. But if she's an agent, when we brought them as an agent, she'll be able to also offer those services, even to the neighborhood agents, neighborhood female consumers as well. So using the female agents also achieve most of the targets that we're trying to do is also one of the things that we're focusing on this year and even beyond this year. Also, lack of education awareness and Mama Money talk about the literacy, speaking the language that they understand. You agree with me that if you don't break these things down to what they understand, not just speaking and practicalizing it, even when we talk about access to credit, do they even understand why they need it? Do they understand why this is how I need this funding and I'm paying back? And also that literacy is very important in their own language, in their own body language, in their own society tradition. We need to do that. Then also, talking about the traditional gender roles. So you come to a community where, of course, if you don't also embrace the community leaders, the market women, telling them what you want to do, they will also assist in ensuring that the adoption and acceptance we are also created in these communities. So for us in SANEF, we try to work with everybody. We collaborate with the government, with the private agency to train and empower women, and also the providers to also work with them, from that central
Right.
seat and ensure that everybody is driving the same, everybody is doing the same thing, everybody.
Great. Thank you so much.
Also out there.
Uche, I know we have some network connectivity challenges, but we were able to capture a key point that Mrs. Uzoebo was mentioning regarding the coordinating role that SANEF plays. So we'd love to hear more of that. I'm sure once we get the connectivity reestablished, we'll hear a whole lot more. So thank you so much for sharing a snippet from the SANEF story. We appreciate that. So at this point, we'd want to see the next poll, which will lead us to our next round of questions to our panelists. And if we can have that next poll launched, thank you so much, Mrs. Uzoebo, for that input. Can we have the next poll, please? The first poll that we saw focused on the women themselves. Now, let's look at the institutions, and this is the question. What do you consider to be the top reason why financial service providers have not historically lent to women micro-entrepreneurs? So there are 4 options there, and we're going to provide a minute for us to select one of those 4 options. And here they are. Women micro-entrepreneurs are seen as risky clients. Second one, no business case for lending to women micro-entrepreneurs. The third possible reason, there is limited commercial value in differentiating loan products for women. And the fourth one is cost of capital does not justify reducing pricing for women micro-entrepreneurs. What do you think is the top reason why financial service providers have not historically lent to women micro-entrepreneurs? So we'd love to see a response. We have a minute to respond. All right, let's take a few more seconds. Do we have all responses from attendees? If we do, we can close the poll and see the results. More responses coming in. Okay, we have everyone in. Let's see the results, please. Oh, very interesting. So 36% of those of us on the call believe that the cost of capital does not justify reducing pricing for women micro-entrepreneurs. That is what we believe is the position by the financial institutions. That is followed closely by 30% of us saying that there's no point differentiating loan products for women. one product, one size fits all. That's interesting. And then, of course, we have the third reason being women are seen as risky clients, and then there is no business case from the perspective of the institutions. So let's bear this in mind as we go to the next round of questions to discuss this further. And we can close the poll now. So cost of capital seen as not justifying lending to women. So let me move on to Mrs. Kolawole to ask this question, bearing in mind this barrier that we've all noted. And the question is, now, the typical barriers that we have found or that we hear impede women entrepreneurs' access to credit is usually lack of collateral, no credit history. So what measures has Credit Corp put in place to circumvent those typical reasons for not having access to credit?
Okay, thank you very much, Zeno. Just like I said earlier, we have loans that we give that we say is asset backed. That means we're not just giving out the cash, but we are giving out assets that can actually support their businesses. Like I said, we're going to have one with a cooperative, a big cooperative group in Lagos next week, in which we give assets like some of the assets include gari making machine, blending machine, freezer, solar freezers that they can use in their shops, those who are selling food and all that. So what we're doing is to, as much as possible, give out loans that will backed up by assets that will create wealth for them. That's number one. Number two, just like I said, the guarantee scheme is kicking off soon by H2, in which we will work with financial institutions in such a way that will share risk. Most of the reason why they are not deploying enough capital into this bottom of the pyramid is because the loss there is a lot too. There's no consequence of bad behavior in Nigeria. If you don't pay, nothing happens. So with the creation of the credit score, most financial institutions will be more relaxed to actually give out more money to people. And part of the mandate we have is that there will be consequence for not paying. And then with the credit guarantee scheme, we will sit down and work on how we're going to share risk. With that, more financial institutions will pump money into bottom of the pyramid. And at the end of the day, they take a part of the risk, we share the risk too. And then we found out in this, our short pilot stage of 6 months, the kind of financial institutions who can actually, just like you said of Mama Money, yeah, Madam Nkem, they are closer to the people. When we work with financial partners who are closer to the people, the tendency of losing money is a bit reduced. Some are hands-on and they're able to ensure collection better than the others. For example, the microfinance banks are able to collect more than even the commercial banks because they are there with the people. They are just above the people we call the daily collectors, those alajos. I mean, those alajos, even though we call them informal, they are the closest to the people as far as I'm concerned. They are seeing those women every day. They collect from them, and then they give them loan too. They save with them, they give them loan, and most of the time, those loans don't go bad because they see those people as their partners. They can trust them. So apart from working with financial microfinance institutions who are hands-on, we are working with some group of cooperative too. We just launched that towards the end of last year, and is already coming to fruition. When you work with people who are closer to the grassroots, the loss is a bit reduced because they are hands-on. They are with these people, they see them every day. When they don't see them paying in 1 week, they know that there's problem. Do you understand? So those are the things that we're doing to
Okay.
avert collateral lending, because if you ask for collateral, that means we're not going to do anything. We're not going to get anywhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those insights. Let's move on to Mama Money as well, just to find out how you manage dealing with women who are perceived as high risk. How do you manage the situation of not having traditional collateral and other requirements that financial institutions usually ask for?
Okay, so when lending to the kind of women that we work with, you have to go with the social impact mindset. So if you go with the social impact mindset, it becomes easier for you. So like I stated earlier, one of the things that we do is the community identification that we do. We go into these women communities. I know Mama Miriam. She's selling petty items. We know where she's staying. We know her house. We know, sometimes we might even know her mosque, or we know her church. So that's the kind of thing that has worked with us. And our women know that we genuinely care for them, because we are constantly giving them updates. We are doing community outreaches, so we have partners reach out to us because they know we work with women and they have maybe health outreaches for women. We push it to our women. We do, when COVID hit, most of the women lost their business capital. We did business grant for women across Nigeria. So these are the things that we do for our women. We really go into their community. They know we care for them. So, and we are giving them this information in bit sizes. We do videos. One of the things that has worked for us is that we do a lot of explainer videos. Where we are speaking English, and we are speaking, if you are going to like a community that is speaking what's it called, Yoruba, we are speaking Yoruba in their dialect. We are talking to them. We are explaining. We are not saying that, okay, because you have asked me this question before, why are you asking me again? Sometimes you give them loans and we state it there. They will come back again and tell you that, Auntie, you told me I was going to pay 55,000 naira, but now why can I not pay 52,000 naira? Sometimes it's a whole lot of work working with this kind of women. So explaining and explaining and explaining, going into their communities, doing community identification, and they have to go with that social impact mindset. You understand? And the kind of credits that we give our women, we don't give them our loans are very, very affordable. So our interest rates are flat. It's not high. It's one of the cheapest out there. And these women, when they even access our loans, it is easy for them to pay back. And another thing that has worked for us is that we do weekly repayments. So we have network of agents, so they can walk up to our agent and do their loan repayment. And they know each other. It's like a community thing. So because of this, we are able to reclaim our loans, and because of the kind of help that we give to them. So we've seen a lot of women's life change. We have single mothers, we have widows that we worked with. If you go to our social media, you see real life stories of women. We have one like Mama Miriam. When we met her, she was struggling, but right now, Miriam has finished national diploma, and she will tell you that it's because of the credit that Mama Money is giving to her. So these are the kind of stories that we have from our women nationwide, because we go where they are and we give them what they want.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And I love the fact that you use the word understanding. It's important for women to really understand the solution, and it's important for us to understand them in the context of where they reside. And with regard to understanding, SANEF came up with a platform working with other stakeholders, which is Sabi Money. So there's a close relationship
we have
between Sabi, yes. So Sabi Money is a platform, which of course Uche would be able to share with us once we're able to have the connection restored with Uche. But that is around the line of understanding. We've heard from the panelists so far, awareness creation, the women really knowing what the credit is, when they have access to it, where to go to get it, but then how to use it, how to repay, in order for them to qualify for more and to have a good record, and then really caring about them, and then being patient as institutions, in the words of Mr. Okocha, explain, explain, explain. Well, let's give the last word now to Mr. Okaimo to share with us from the Development Bank of Nigeria's perspective. How do you respond to those barriers that we saw in the poll that was posted?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's been an interesting conversation so far. It's actually very interesting to note that 31% says what they said. Let me put it that way. I don't want to repeat it. But this goes to show the level of lack of understanding we have around meeting women MSME needs. And this has actually posed a lot of institutional barriers. The fact that we already have cultural barriers that are actually preventing many women from accessing finance is a major challenge already. And at DBN, what we've done, we've tried as much as possible to increase the capacity building we are doing for our women enterprises. Also building on the technical assistance program, like I said earlier, that we have put in place for our PFIs. And even things around religious barriers. We've developed a framework for non-interest banking, because we also believe that one of the reasons why some women in some part of the country don't want to access credit is because they also don't want to pay interest. So we've developed a framework for non-interest banking to assist the non-interest banks that are operating in Nigeria to have access to funds, which we also hope would reach out to the female enterprises. We also have insufficient gender mainstreamed proposition. So many of the banks really don't understand what kind of products to do. And we believe with the TA we've been giving to the banks, this would enable them. Part of one of the TAs we did once with one of the big banks in Nigeria was on how to use psychometric data analysis to kind of test repayment model for female enterprises. And they did that, and so far they've been able to give a lot of uncollateralized loans. So nobody's asking for collateral anymore. And the repayment pattern for those women up to today, for the women up to today, the bank has reported almost 100% repayment rates. And I think that's one of the reasons why we should be giving more money to the female enterprises. The repayment rates are higher and better. Then we talk about the data. We don't have data. There is insufficient gender disaggregated reporting. And I think part of what the WIFI code is trying to eliminate, we are now bringing most of Nigerian banks into the WIFI code. And hopefully we all have QR codes and a reporting template that would enable many of these banks to share information around the type of loans and facilities that they are giving to female enterprises. Another way what we are doing, I particularly like what Mama Money is doing, and we are also improving on our lending reach. So we are developing some fintech kind of distribution channels that can also assist people like Mama Money to reach out to us, to share with us, and then we can reach out to the MSMEs, the women MSMEs through her, for instance. And I think it's one collaboration I think she should consider, and then we can maybe have a discussion around that as well. I think I've been able to throw light around some of the issues that have been raised so far and what we are doing at DBN. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Okaimo. This is really, really very interesting and insightful, informative, and exciting, because not only are our attendees in the audience able to know what is available out there, they know what is being provided, and even amongst ourselves, we see opportunities for handshakes and collaboration that will lead to women having access to these available tools and the knowledge, because we've heard a lot about capacity building. And we love the point you mentioned about financial institutions also need capacity building so that they know how to develop the right products for women and how to connect with the women in a way that they will use productive credit productively. Thank you so much. So at this point, we just want to see any questions which are in the chat. We are approaching the end of the webinar. We're getting close to the half-hour mark, but we would love to see if there are a couple of questions from our guests that we can provide some responses. We can get the expert panelists. Yes, Nora, please tell us, what do we have there?
Thank you, Zeno. So we have two questions in the Q&A section. The first one is from Mr. Tolu, and it says, what are the requirements for assessing these grants, especially from an NGO? And what are the disbursement terms and eligibility criteria? So that's the first one. Hello?
Yeah, Zeno, you are muted. Oh, I can't hear you.
Okay. Zeno, we can't hear you.
Nora, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Trey.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to be sure if it's from me, because the network has been, it's been really bad.
Epileptic.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Zeno, we can probably pose that question to do you mind repeating the question so we can pose it appropriately while Zeno is trying to resolve his connection?
What are the requirements for assessing these grants, especially from an NGO? And what are the disbursement terms and eligibility criteria? I believe he's speaking about the grants from Credit Corp or DBN.
Yes. So maybe we can have Mrs. Kolawole. Would you like to take that, and we'll just have Mr. Okaimo also pitch in real quickly?
Okay, let me correct. I never spoke about grants. We don't have grants yet.
Yeah, I think it was actually for the DBN. I thought so too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much for that correction. Mr.
Okay.
Okaimo, please.
All right, thank you. So basically, we have, like I said earlier, we have some grant funding that we just received recently, especially for what we call WASH, Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Initiatives. And then, of course, we are looking at another one targeted at gender responsive climate adaptation and all of that. So when you say eligibility criteria, it's just basically, if you're an NGO that you are involved in all of these activities, discuss with us. You can look at our website, www.devbankng.com, and then reach out to us, and then we can share what kind of criteria. 90% of the time, the current grants that we are administering are people, MSMEs that have gone through our capacity building programs, and then after the programs, and then we look at whatever proposals they put in place, the ones that look very good or meet the requirements of the whatever panel that we set up to look at that, they get some grants as well. Basically, that's the way it's targeted. Thank you.
Yeah. Nora, the second question. Nora, you're muted.
Yes. How might we harness all these interventions for women and consolidate it into seamless pathways for women? It appears we currently have in place organizations working in silos. How are we measuring and evaluating current interventions for remediation purposes and for harnessing lessons learned? This is from Mr. Abdul Rashid.
Yeah, I think we should let Mrs. Kolawole, would like to hear your thoughts on this, and also Ms. Okocha, because you're on the ground and you know what is going on. So what do you think is a way to have this harness so that we have momentum? We can gain momentum in terms of implementation.
Okay, thank you very much. Just like I said, it will not be easy for us to reach across 774 local governments of Nigeria. So we work with partners. Our partners include commercial banks, microfinance banks, cooperative societies, and fintechs. So, and like I said, we are already recording some progress with some organized cooperative societies, also with some fintechs who are actually on the ground, closer to the people. So for those who have cooperative society, I mean, they can actually get on our website, and we have what we call expression of interest. Even for some of the vendors, we have a lot of links there for different purposes. So I think maybe I can give some details, or people get on our website. I can give some details on Alfina on how some of those who have organized cooperative societies can work with us. We're making progress, and we're making good progress even with the microfinance banks who are fully on ground. I mean, they understand the business, and from the understanding of tracking and all that, you could see that the understanding of the business ensures collection, that money doesn't go. What we have is something that we want you to go around every Nigerian. And so we are not into grants now. When we have funds available for grants, we'll let everybody know. But the cooperative societies, we're good to work with. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so
There's another
much.
question
Yeah.
Okay.
that just popped up. Yeah. What can women do to boost their credit history so they're attractive for consumer credits? Particularly interested from the viewpoint of Credit Core. This is from Salima.
Okay. I mean, to build your credit history is for us to have access to transactions that you do. Do you understand? And like I said, once we get the legislation out and then we start moving, we will be gathering information on you based on, for those, let's start from those from formal sector. You have a bank account, information on how you spend your money from NIBS and all the switching companies will give us an idea of what your score will look like. Informal too, non-financial rather, non-financial information about how much you spend on phone, how much you spend on data, how you pay for your energy bill and all that. Those are basic forms of information gathering that we are going to use in getting a score. But for those who have bank account right now, it's so easy. I mean, all of us who do consumer credit, once the financial institution say, let's see your statement of account. From your statement of account, 1,000,001 deductions can be made from there, and it will be easier to have access to credit. For Mama Money, I'm sure she explained how they educate the women, how it will be good to have records. Even the ones who say they don't take their money to the bank. Do we have your invoices? Do you understand? Invoices with which you buy your stock. I mean, and then as you sell, you have a record, you have a register. She explained how they get such information from such women so that there'll be a record. Nobody wants to give you money that you don't have the capacity to turn over. They want to give you more than what you can cope with. Neither do they want to give you less than what you need. And so there must be information on your transaction to determine what comes to you, basically. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. We have two more questions. It's like the thoughts are coming up now.
We should cut off at that point so that we can take.
We cut off.
No, so
Okay.
take the last two questions and then we'll cut off at that point.
Okay, all right then. Oh, it's now 3. Wow. How do you tackle the challenge women face with the requests from FSPs on about collateral when accessing credit?
So you have to specify who you want to answer that. And then so go ahead,
maybe
please.
we can hear from Mama Money.
Okay. So for us, we do not request for collateral, like I said. So we work with underserved women. So for our agent, our Mama Money agent, we can check through their transactions. Through their transactions, we will know if we should give them money or not. So that's what we do. Then for the underserved women, we don't collect any collateral. For our agents, we don't collect collateral. Agents will go through the transaction. For women, we do what we call community identification, and we are not giving the woman more than what she can chew. So we are not giving her more than she can manage. That's what one of the things that we do. Then for these women, another thing that we do, because for most of these women, when we meet them, we are their first point of call when it comes to financial inclusion, because some of them do not have bank accounts. So when we open bank accounts for them, we are teaching them how to put that money back. So that person asking for how I know build your credit score. So your market money, your business money, you push it into your what's it called, your savings account or your business account. And one of the things that we are teaching is learn how to separate your personal money from your business money. So that's one of the things that we do, because it's very, very key. We need to see, even if it's not a corporate account, we want to see. Sometimes we even teach them, if you can pay yourself, if it is 30,000 naira, you want to be paying yourself, or 50,000 naira, pay yourself. Then do narration. If you have access to a banking app, one of the things we teach them also is write narration. This is salary. This money that is when you are paying, maybe a supplier, you are writing this 100,000 is going to this supplier. So financial education, very, very key. And learn how to separate your personal fund from your business fund. That's how you build what's it called, your credit history.
Great, thank you so much. I think we just met the last two questions because of time. Is Credit Corp or DBN utilizing Nigeria's collateral registry, number one, and number two, what plans are in place to reach women in the last mile or rural areas? Can Mr. Bonaventure answer this, please?
Okay, the answer to the first question is yes. We are using the NCR. Then secondly, what are our plans to reach women at the last mile? So luckily, we deal through participating financial institutions that include both microfinance banks and microfinance institutions. We've already realized that many of those institutions are the ones that actually do operate in the rural areas. So we are set up to be able to deal with them. We're also boosting the capacity of the MFBs and the MFIs in those areas to be able to address the risk that they see the women enterprises are bringing to them, and then handle that. We're also dealing, like I said, we are going to deal with fintech. We're going to look at how to use alternative credit scoring mechanism to identify risk and manage credit, so that we don't need to, ask for collateral through these banks. And I think the use of the credit guarantee scheme is also one of the greatest ways we are mitigating the traditional requirement for collateral. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If Uche is back, we'd like to hear from her as well on the last question. What plans are in place to reach women in the last mile rural areas? Is Uche here?
I don't think so.
Still connectivity issues being dealt with.
Okay. Do you, Zeno?
All right. Well, thank you all for the responses you provided to the questions. And thanks, Foyin, for bailing me out when technology failed. And as we wrap up now, we just love to have a short call to action from our esteemed panelists. Just 30 seconds, if you can manage 30 seconds, a call to action to not just the women micro entrepreneurs, but also the financial institutions represented on the call, based on all what we've heard, towards accelerating action to ensure women have access to productive credit. So let us begin with Mrs. Kolawole, your call to action, 30 seconds or less.
The call to action is that for me, we all have to join hands. We all have to collaborate. Do you understand? The financial institutions, the credit registry, and the policymakers too. Like I said, a lot of policy will come out on the issue of credit scoring and then for consequences for not paying loan. Because I mean, until we do that, we're not going to get the financial institution to devote more of their capital to actually finance the lowest end of the pyramid. And that's where the majority, 90%, that's where 90% is. So a lot of collaboration by all stakeholders to actually move forward. And credit is a GDP multiplier. And if we really want to grow, we all have to join hands to make this work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Collaboration, cooperation, working together to make this happen. Let's move on to Mrs. Okocha. Your call to action, 30 seconds or less.
Okay, so my call to action will be the theme of the International Women's Day for 2025, which is to accelerate action. So when we say action, let's genuinely help women. So for financial service providers that want to provide services to women, genuinely help these women. Please don't play lip service. Then also for development organizations that are looking to we need more impact funding. That's what I'm trying to say, more impact funding, because every work that we have, everything that we've discussed here, most of it will be funded by impact investment. So we need a lot of impact investment when it comes to financial inclusion and access to credit for women. More money, we need more money, and let's take action let's take the real action, not play lip service. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Accelerate action. Let us get the right investments in there so that women have access to productive credit. Thank you so much. And lastly, from Mr. Okaimu, 30 seconds or less, your call to action.
Thank you. My call to action will go to the different groups. So for financial institutions, I would love them to develop products that are tailored to women. They should reduce reliance on their traditional collateral requirement and actively work to eliminate gender bias in lending. So government should strengthen and enforce policies that promote gender equality. And then, of course, the government should support the development of a national coordination framework to streamline and harmonize women economic empowerment initiative. And I want the women entrepreneurs to continuously seek out available resources and opportunities. They should build strong network. They should build strong support system. They should embrace financial literacy and business skill training. And then, of course, to all of us, including the DFIs, we should promote data sharing. We should collaborate to improve effectiveness of intervention. And then ensure that we have standardized monitoring and evaluation framework that will track progress and measure impact. And I believe that once we work together, we'll create this financial ecosystem that will empower all women entrepreneurs to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Okaimu. That was really a very nice way to wrap it up. Collaboration, accountability. So we start, let us monitor what we're doing to be sure that the results are actually impactful. I can't say more than, a huge thank you to the panelists, from Mrs. Uzoebo, who, well, unfortunately, the technology had its own adverse impact, but we know that she's 110% in support of accelerating action. To Mr. Okaimu, thank you so much for being here, and also to Mrs. Kolawole and Ms. Okocha. Your insights, what you're doing in the field, on the ground, practical things, have inspired us to not just keep talking, but to start doing and to utilize the resources available. So thank you so much. Let me hand over to our compere. Nora, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Zeno, and I echo your thoughts. Thank you to our panelists, esteemed panelists. It's really, really been an impactful session. At this point, I'll call our CEO, Athena CEO, to give her goodwill message. Ms. Foinsola Akinjai. Over to you.
I mean, how do you say anything after the call to action from our esteemed panelists? But let me first of all say a big thank you. Mr. Okaimu, fun fact, I was the program manager for the design of the Development Bank of Nigeria. I don't know I think we met sometime. So it's good to hear that the Development Bank of Nigeria is staying true to the spirit and the letter of its original design, which is for on lending, as wholesale lending, for on lending to the real sector, the people, the engine of our economy. And a massive thank you to you, Mrs. Kolawole. You know, when I hear things about, 52% of those who have, been able to access credit were first-time borrowers, it shows that there is indeed action. And to our financial evangelists, good job to you for the evangelism, the great work that you're doing. And to Mrs. Uzoebo, a massive thank you, because obviously the agents are doing phenomenal work in ensuring this last mile. But I'm just going to say a few things. When I hear things, just to echo your thoughts, Mr. Okaimo, that people do not, the cost of capital is a deterrent, for example, to be able or to justify more competitive rates. It breaks my heart, because we already see that it will take 130 years at current rate to be able to close the gender gap. Today, access to credit for women MSMEs is at 5%. 5%, do the math, it means 5 in every 100. And Nigeria's population is at least 50% female, at least, possibly more. And what are we talking about? The engine of our economy is the MSME space. Over 40 million businesses. 90% of them are nano, micro, and small businesses. So there is not just a moral requirement, it's an economic imperative to grow our economy, to deepen our markets, to grow our PFIs. Even if the banks are going to grow, the digital lenders are going to grow, there is no other route with which they're going to get to that, but by focusing on the bottom billion, the bottom millions of Nigerians who do not have access. 80% of employment comes from this MSME space. And women always get a bad rap, but we are hearing that women are the better lenders. They pay better. They would, tell women are okay to tell others that they borrowed money. Men do not want others to know that they borrowed money. I hope you know that. So they are they're the people who would advocate and publish this information. And then there's the likes of DBN, which I think the last time I checked, you will do single digit, rates to the PFIs. I don't know what it is today. And then, of course, you have those credit enhancement programs such that you can, share the risk. And then the tenors are longer. So that, like you said, people need to find opportunities, get into the networks. I'm happy to hear that there's potentially, a partnership between DBN and Mama Money of this world.
Yeah.
That is how we can accelerate action. Because if we continue to do things piecemeal as we are doing, then the gender gap will not be closed. The over 30, 40, 50 million women who we know that it's not just their businesses that would benefit, it's their families, their communities. When women borrow, the family feels it. The community knows it. The economy is better for it. So let's accelerate action. Let's open up. Let's partner. Let's collaborate. And let's rethink. Because I know that there's this mindset of, there's no justification. There's no business case to disaggregate the data. As PFI say, when you get your information on your customer, disaggregate it by gender. Some nuances will jump out at you that would show you the business case for serving women. It is possible if we put our minds to it, and there is opportunity and potential for collaboration to make it work. So on that note, I want to say thank you to all our distinguished panelists and every single person who has made our time to be here with us. It's a great time to be a woman in Nigeria, in Africa, any part of the world. I want to say an amazing thank you to our he for she's, our champions for change, Emezino, Mr. Okaimo, and all the great men who are here. So happy International Women's Month. We see you, we love you, we appreciate you. I would say let's go out and accelerate action. Enough of the talk already. And there is, an economic imperative, a business case to be made for financial inclusion for women entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for you wrapped it all up better. Thank you to all our audience. Thank you to our esteemed panelists. It's really, really been insightful. While this discussion is coming to an end, of course, the engagements continue. And EFINA remains open. Please check us up on our website, www.efina.org.ng, also on our social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and we're happy to connect with you all. It's been a lovely day. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.